Hello everyone, this is Chris Jamel at Exxon Interactive, and in this video we are going to focus on adding some functionality to our app bar. Namely, we're going to do something with our back button, which of course is not shown right now because we're on the home page. But if we're on the about page, we can see that our back button will show up, and if we click on it, we'll go back to the home page. Now, we don't currently have any global state being shown, so back just means that we're going up our route tree according to our parents, and we'll see how to implement that. And we'll also come across a little bit of, I think, a development time error that happens, which we'll use little async await magic to deal with. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing I'm going to do is to change the location of our the-app-bar.view file. So I've already created an app-bar folder for it. So I'm just going to cut and put that thing inside there. Listen to our little beeping sound of errors. So first thing we're going to need to update here is inside of the app-bar view file. I have this code here. It now needs to be one more level up, so that'll fix that part. But also, if we go into the app.view file, we're calling it or importing the app bar here. We need to adjust this app-bar, save that, back to working again. Great. All right, so what we're going to do next is return to some routing bit here. So where am I at? Components, routing, and the route entry. What I want is for my route entries now to have knowledge of which route they're associated with through the use of our enum. So let's do an import. So import, and that is at why that. So slash components slash routing slash types. And that's, I call it routes. Perfect. And duplicate identifier because I was already doing this before. So reload. Okay, so now we want to make sure that we specify one for each, and we want to have it access private read-only route. Perfect. While we're at it, we'll have the public get route return this dot route, and while singing is we'll go ahead and public get our parent as well. We're going to need that here in a minute. And we need, of course, specify this dot route. Get rid of our little errors there. And of course, with that change, we're going to need to go to a routing service, and we should have some errors here. So this one, we'll say route is now routes dot home, and about is routes dot about. Perfect. But I don't want to have duplicate information, and now each route knows the enum that's associated with it, so we can do some modification with our routes as well. So let me do this. So we had this values that converted this to an array. Just get rid of that. And now what we're going to do is just to have our routes be specified by an array. All right, so we have an about and home in there. So now all we have to do is to say that routes. So routes, that'll modify how we create our router. We're going to have a couple of errors down here. And so we have routes.get, and instead of that, it's just going to be routes.find. And the find is where x.route equals to the route that's passed in. And down here, I think we should just be able to get away with values to routes. So that updates our routing service. And now we can go back to, let's close these for the moment anyway, back to our app bar. And I realized at some point that I misspelled this. So let's get rid of our extra O there. And what I want to do now is on our button here, so V-on. So if you click this button, we'll do prevent. You're going to call the back method. And in our app bar, I guess we need to do some importing here. I feel like I skipped something, which I did. So let's go back to the routing service. And what I intended to have also is just tell what it means to go back. So public back. And we may adjust this in the future once we have sort of global state management in place. But at least at the moment, the only notion of back that we have is to know where we are. And we have a parent, so we can navigate up the tree until we get to the root, right? So if we say const parent is equal this dot current dot parent. So if parent is equal to null, right? So we're at the root. We don't have to do anything. Otherwise, this dot navigate to, and now we can just do parent dot route. Now we have a notion of what it means to go back within our routing service. So now back to the appbar.view file. What we need to do, of course, is import from /component /routing just routing. That'll save us a little bit. And now we want the routing service. Right? We're also going to need to inject that. So in our component @inject and private read-only and routing service will be provided for us. And we can do private back this dot routing service dot back. Let's go ahead and save that. Just for good measure, refreshing over there. So now I'm on the about page. If I hit the back arrow, the arrow up there, it'll take me back to the home page. I can go back to about. Of course, this is all I can do right now since this is the only two views that we have. But everything's working correctly. So let's check one thing out here. So if I go, let me create a method here. So the thing that we want to do, right, is we don't necessarily want to show this back button if the user is already on the home page. There's nothing to go back to. Or you could disable it. In this case, I'm choosing not to show it altogether. So let's take a look at something real quick. So if I do private created, right, which is a lifecycle hook, we do console log this.routing service.current. Save that. And let's see. Nope, not that one. That's as plus as I can get it. So we have on created, everything's working fine. We have our view component. The name is home. Name is home, parent null, route is set. Refresh it. Everything seems to be working correctly. Now, if I go to the about page, so the about page, if I refresh, we'll get an error here. Error route width name null has not been defined. So our problem here, and I think that this is just a development time problem, just the way that they are basically proxying this about get request back to the root and back again, I guess, is that at least for a brief instance, the routing, our routing service.current, which is just the router.current, is showing up as the root and the name being null. And like I said, I think that that's just a development time problem. But we're going to go ahead and fix this as if we had to deal with it forever. And the way that we're going to do this, so let's start off first by this dot. So if we have the router, it has a method onReady. So we have to provide it a callback, right? So a little loop about. So if I save that, now refresh. Guess I should have left it out. Everything's working fine. We get the about. We get everything is set correctly. Now we could use this. It works just fine using this callback method. But I think it's a little bit, we can do it a little cooler here. And the way we're going to do that is back to our routing service. And let's come up and, what did I call it? So in our routing service, we're going to private read only, and I'm going to call this current promise. It's going to be a new promise of type route entry. So at the end, you'll get a route entry, and in here, resolve. For now, we don't care about error. And then we basically saw what we need to do is just say this dot router dot onReady, not error, onReady. What do we do? Well, you just resolve and this dot current. So now we have a promise that we can use that just wraps our onReady callback and gives us back the current route, or route entry. We need a way to access this thing. So let's do it down here and call it public get current async. And this is then just going to be return this current promise. Save that and back to our app bar. So let's modify this. So we'll say async and get rid of this bit for the moment. Console log, and we'll await. And then it'll be this dot routing service dot current async. So if we save that, come back, refresh. Ah, idiot. If you pay attention to what you're doing, follow notes, you wouldn't have to worry about this. So what I did was say, oh, look, current promise needs to be alphabetized up here. Problem being is that it's making use of the router, which is not defined at that point. Down here. Let's try that again. So now, if we look in the console log, we can see that everything is working again. And if we're on the home page, of course, everything works there as well. So now we have a way of setting it or figuring out what the current route is, even if we're in sort of the lifecycle hook. We would have had the same problem with mounted. I checked on that too. So now that we have that, I guess I could have left open. What we need to know is we can make it easier to know what the current route is. So by to do that, we're going to back to the routing service, and we're going to create another method here. What did I call it? So we'll say public async is current route async, and of course then you're going to give me a route, which is the enum. And then, I'm sorry. That's the reason why I was doing it that way. Can't use the fat arrow with the async. So what we do is const current, and that's equal to await this dot current async. And now what we do is this return current dot route equals the route that was passed in. So now back to our app bar here. we're going to use that. I guess first thing we're going to do is modify our template a little bit. So let's create or use the view if directive. And we'll just say show back. Of course, it's going to complain of us if we haven't defined what show back is. So we'll do private show back. We'll just set it to false to start with. And we're in a place now where we can use in here in the created. So this dot show back equals. So let's await this dot routing service dot is current route, and we pass in routes dot home. And I forgot that we need to import that, but that's right there. So if we find out that the current route is home, then show back that'll be true. So we'll say not, so false. So then the VF will be false and we won't show it. So if we save that, now our back button has disappeared. If we go to the About page, we haven't fixed navigation yet, but if we go back to the About page, we can see that the back arrow or back button is showing. So now we do have to deal with navigation, right? So what we'll do here is inside of our created method, we'll just say this, maybe, routing service dot navigate stream dot subscribe this dot route change, which we have to add. So let's say private route change routes. So this dot show back equals route. So this is the route that we're going to, routes.home. So if we're going to the home route, then we want show back to then be false. All right, so now, just for good measure, the whole refreshing. So starting off here in the home page, our back button isn't showing. Going to the About page, we see it. And if you pay attention a little bit, you'll see that there's a little, the title jumps up and down a little bit. And the reason for that is that the sort of sizing of the buttons is not exactly the same, so the natural size. So let's finish up by fixing that. First off though, a little error here. There's no space supposed to be between those two. So it makes it a little bit more squarer, our buttons. And what we want to do is so I have a helper function at import, and that's at bidders functions. The whole purpose of that is just so I can say that the min height is then set to a function that will strip off the pics and convert that to rem units for me. You obviously don't need a helper function to do it yourself. And so now if we go back to the home, we can see that the title isn't jumping in the vertical direction at all. So it's going in and out, based on whether the button is visible, and our button is working. So that's basically what we took care of it in this episode here, is to add a little functionality to our app bar by creating or having some functionality to the back button. So if we hit the back button, we go back meaning up the sort of route tree, and we have it conditionally shown based on whether we're on the home page or another page. And so that'll take care of it for this video. And let's see if we can see what we're doing in the next one here. I think what I'm doing in the next one here we're going to work on is adding some settings. So if I click the settings button here, we'll have an animated settings menu pop in. We'll take care of in the next video. And until then, I will talk to you later. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.